they still were able to help with the acceptance of, yes, you have this disease now, but it's not all you are. And that was so big to me because I was so hung up on this. Why am I the 1 in 10? Why am I broken? Why do I have this? Why is this me? And they were like, it's not you. You're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a paramedic, you're a firefighter, you're a dancer, you're a fitness person, and you have endometriosis. You're all of these things. You are not endometriosis.
Endometriosis isn't just a bad period. It's a whole body disease that impacts at least 1 in 10 females at birth. And yet, most go years, sometimes over a decade, without a diagnosis. It's misunderstood, it's under-researched, and it's often dismissed as, just a reproductive issue. This podcast is a space for the real talk. The stuff we whisper about and cry about and scream about, and the small wins that we celebrate along the way. We are here to connect, to get honest, and to share what we're learning as we navigate life with endo together. Hi, Sarah. I am so excited to have you today. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
My name's Sarah. I am from Swansea, Massachusetts, and I am 29 years old. I work as a firefighter paramedic, and I'm glad to be here to talk about all of this and answer any questions that you might have.
That's awesome. You have a tough job for...
Yeah, it can be interesting some days.
Wow. Thank you for your service. This is as a start. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey with endometriosis. We all have a journey.
Yes, we do.
Usually long. So what's yours? Where does it
I'd
start?
say it is a pretty lengthy one. I'll try and shorten it down. In, I would say, 2021, I've always had really bad periods that have always been super bad, cramping, bleeding, just awful periods that, of course, you've been told are, oh, it's normal, it's normal, it's normal. And I just accepted that. Okay, it's normal. It's been like this. I don't know any different. And I went on birth control in, let's say, 2018, and that helped a lot. It helped with my cramping, it helped with my symptoms. And then in 2021, I kind of was like, why am I on this? I don't really want to be on this. I don't want to be on hormones. And so I stopped taking it on my own volition. My OB was like, well, why are you stopping it? I don't want to take it anymore. But that's when, I don't know if it was masking all my symptoms, but that's when everything kind of started. Was after I got off the birth control, because I was on it for 5-ish years. That once I went off of it, the cramps got worse, the bleeding got worse, everything got worse. And I was like, what is happening to me? And so I brought it to my OBGYN and I said, look, like, this isn't normal. And I got oh yeah, it is. Just take ibuprofen, like, it'll help with the cramps. Okay. I don't know any better. You know better. Okay. And so I did that, and it just was getting so bad. And I was going to be heading into the fire academy for my job. And I was like, I can't be bleeding like this and having cramping like this in the fire academy. I can't do it. So I went on birth control again, and the hormones just messed with me so bad. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So then I tried an IUD. I couldn't do that either. That was awful. It lasted 3 days in my body, and I got it implanted on a Friday, and by Monday morning it was out because it was so painful. My uterus was actually rejecting it. And so after that, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to have to deal with this. And so in the fire academy, I dealt with it, and it was not fun and it was not easy. And once I came out of the academy, I was like, I was so tired of being told it's normal. And I started doing my own research and found endometriosis. And I was like, this sounds like what I have. And I brought it to my OB, and she was like, I don't think so. And I was like, okay. And I went a couple more months with it, and I was like, you know what? No, I want to know, like, because I just got told, well, you can go on birth control again, or you can have an IUD again, and that'll help your symptoms. And I was like, I want to know why. I don't want a Band-Aid. I want to know why. And so that's when I started being very pushy, very aggressive, I was like, I want an ultrasound. I want testing. I want something, because this isn't normal. So I had a transvaginal ultrasound, which actually did show adhesions, which is
Wow.
looking at other people's stories is like, oh, that's not common.
It also means that it was severe.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, well, it showed this. We're going to get an MRI. I was like, okay. The MRI showed nothing. Typical, which is so weird that one
Wow.
thing showed something and then another one showed nothing. And that's when she was like, well, like I said, you can go on birth control, you can do this. And I was like, something's here. And that's when she was like, well, we can do a exploratory lap. And I was like, okay, finally, thank God. And I just happened to be at my physical for the year with my nurse practitioner. And she was like, honestly, like, go to Boston. Like, if you're going to have this done, she was like, you don't want an OB, you want somebody who does this for a living. And that's when I was like, well, shit. Like, I don't know who that is. And so that's when I joined the Facebook pages, and I joined the one that we're both in, the endometriosis support, and I joined the Greater Support Boston or something like that. And that's where I found my surgeon, and I was like, okay. So I went that avenue. I was put on a wait list forever. Wow. Finally saw him, and I cried in that man's office. He must be so used to it because he had tissues on hand. I told him all my symptoms. I told him everything, and he looked at me and he was like, you have endometriosis, and I'm sorry that no one's listened to you.
Wow.
And I just cried.
What a beautiful sentence to hear.
Like, I did, and he must
I'm
hear
sorry, it's like a terrible moment of you're getting like
a
chronic diagnosis, but it's so beautiful.
To hear, like, and he hadn't done surgery, he hadn't done anything. He was like, everything you're telling me without any imaging, without anything, he's like, is endometriosis. So we scheduled the surgery, and it was months out. He's a busy man. Wow. I finally had my surgery, and one of my biggest symptoms that I had was painful periods, super bad cramping, painful ovulation, which I had no idea until after surgery. And I had ripping, immense back pain. That was like the number one thing for me, was that my back felt like it was ripping off my spinal cord. All the time, constant, never went away. And when I woke up from surgery, the nurses asked, like, how are you? And I was like, my back doesn't hurt. And they were like, well, yeah, it's the anesthesia, it's the pain meds, and I was like, no. And days went by and my back pain was gone.
Wow.
Gone. And it was like I was living at like an 8 out of 10 with this back pain. And I was like, that was normal? Like, you're trying to tell me that was normal? And when I got the results of my surgery, endometriosis was everywhere. It was in my pelvis. It was on my side walls, which was causing me ovulation pain. And the biggest one, which was my back, was it was in between like my rectum and my uterus. And it was tethered to those ligaments. So that's what that ripping, pulling sensation was it was literally just pulling my ligaments. Wow. And I asked him afterwards, and I was like, because I battled with having surgery. So I'm like, it's not that bad. Because we get gaslit into thinking that it's normal. It's not that bad. We can live a life like this. And I'm like, it's not that bad to have surgery. I was going to be out of work for like 3 months. I was like, it's not that bad. I don't need to do it. I don't need to do it. And I asked him, I was like, what happened if I never did this? If I never had surgery, if I never did this, if I just carried on with life as normal? And he said, in about 3 to 5 months, you would have needed a colostomy bag because it would have infiltrated your colon. And I was so mad because I'm like, and this was normal? This whole time I've been fed this. It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. It's fine. It's normal.
For you.
Have a birth control. Like,
and you freaking graduated the fire academy while having this tethered and pulling.
Oh yes. Which was like
no idea how you did that.
That was like the biggest like realization for everybody in my family and around me after surgery. Because like I was in the fire academy, I go to work every day, and my coworkers they're my best friends. We're like a family, the 3 of us. And when I was in the fire academy, I called my captain, and I was like, I was having such a bad day with my period. I was like, I'm dizzy. I can't stand up straight. Like, I'm bleeding immensely. And he's like, you have to get through it. I'm like, I know, but I can't. And he was like, you have to. Because you can't call out. I can't. I was the only girl. I couldn't be like, my period sucks today. I'm not doing this. Like, it's not allowed. And so I
Wow.
went and I suffered. And then during recovery, I couldn't sit still. I'm like, I feel great. This is the best I've felt in years. And everyone's like, you need to sit down. You had surgery. You're in pain. And I'm like, y'all realize I'm not in pain right now, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't realize this pain is like nothing compared to what it was.
I'm like, and that's honestly like that's where my family kind of saw it. Like, you went to work like this. You went to the fire academy like this, that I'm walking around a day after surgery, after being cut open, and acting like I'm perfectly fine.
Wow. That
Because
is, by the
this,
way, crazy. I just want to say to whoever listening, do not expect to just waltz around the day after your surgery.
no,
That is usually not the norm. I was
no, it's
barely
not.
able to walk for 2 weeks,
I
but I'm
definitely,
happy for you.
well, and it's interesting that you say that, because looking at everyone's stories and whatnot after surgery, I was so worried that I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. And the fact that I was up was I was like, is this normal? Like, I
Well,
had to,
first of all, you're like in really good shape, right? You just got out
yeah,
of the academy, like you're kind of like ignoring your pain and working out really, really hard in a way that most of us don't do.
yeah,
So that gives you a lot of points when you start recovery.
yeah, definitely recovering wise, it was hard because my mother would be over, my friends would be over, and they'd constantly have to be like, sit down, like, just sit. And I'd be up they're like, let me get there for you. Let me do this for you. And I'm like, no, like, I'm fine. I'm fine. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not fine.
It's hard. I think this is actually one of the hardest parts after surgery. First of all, the accepting the help, because we're so independent for so long because everything is fine. And
Yep.
then when we're like, maybe actually not fine, can you actually pick it up for me from the floor? But it's like it feels awful to do that. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
so happy none of your stitches like burst open with all the stuff you did after
No,
surgery. Oh my God.
very, very fortunate in the recovery phase. But that's basically my journey. I had no idea what endometriosis was, to fighting my butt off for it, to finally getting surgery. And now here I am, almost a year later. March 20th to be a year. And I can't believe I'm here a year later. Like,
How do you see that besides the pain, there is more that I feel like every time we have such severe pain for so long, while we're in it, we don't realize how much we're losing and how much our mind is like, "Oh, that's fine," because like we just need to survive. But looking back, what do you see like the biggest differences now post-op?
the biggest difference probably for me, regardless, not thinking of like pain wise, is just being able to have a full and complete life, not staying home because, oh, my cramps, or not going somewhere because I'm so tired. That was a
Oh yeah.
big thing too, was the fatigue. Is you're like, I'm not sick, I'm not anything. You can't see it. You can't see why you're fatigued, but being able to just go out and do things, and even just work, to be able to just do my job without the constant back pain or the constant feeling of being limited. I don't feel limited. I
That is
feel very much
amazing.
like I can go and I can do anything, which
That's
is sometimes not good because I think I'm invincible now, but it's nice to have that feeling of, I don't have this pull down from a disease, that I can kind of just go and do my thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have to ask. You don't have to answer. Do you still see the OBGYN who gaslit
I
you?
do. So I liked her, but when it came to the endometriosis, I very much was like, F you. And it's interesting that you asked, because I had my yearly exam this past December, and it was the first time I had seen her since my surgery, since my diagnosis. And I was ready. I was like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be like, here's the news, honey. And I went in and she was like, how are you feeling post surgery? And I said, it's funny you ask. And I wasn't mean. I wasn't rude. I was just like, I saw the surgeon. I said, and I do have endometriosis. I said, and it was extremely frustrating to hear that I have endometriosis. And she was like, oh, well, wouldn't you be relieved? I said, I was relieved. I said, for a little bit. I said, but then I was extremely frustrated. I said, because you blew me off. I said, you blew me off. I said, and I told you all these symptoms. I said, and you didn't listen. I said, and maybe that's because you don't have the information. I said, but I'm giving you the information now. I'm telling you that I listed all of this out. I said, so maybe next time for the next patient, I said, you'll listen. And I brought in my surgeon, gave me photos of all my endometriosis in the surgery. I said, here it all is. It's everywhere. And you didn't listen. I said, so I hope that next time someone says this, you'll say, you know what, let's do X, Y, and Z. I said, because how you handled it for me was not it. She actually apologized to me, which I was not ready for. I was ready for a fight. I was ready to go in there and I was mad. I was ready to be aggressive, and I wasn't ready for the, I'm really sorry I didn't listen to you.
Wow.
And it like took me a second because I was not expecting it. And I was like, I really appreciate that, because I don't think doctors are out there to be mean. I don't think they're sitting there across from us thinking, nah, I'm gonna make her suffer. I don't think that's their goal in life. I think genuinely endometriosis is something that's not discussed, it's not researched, it's not taught, and it's slipped under the rug because it's not important in the OBGYN community. Unfortunately,
Which is
she's someone
crazy because the
who
numbers are crazy. It's 1 in 10 in here. In
1 in
Australia, they
10.
have a better testing because they already have a blood test that in circulation right now. It's 1 in 7. Wait
Wow.
until it gets here. How is this not taught? You're like so correct. It's crazy.
And that's it. It's not the doctor. It's the system
Yes.
itself. So I liked her other than the endometriosis. She's great. She hears me out most of the time and actually accepts what I want to do, what I don't want to do. Like when it came to the IUD, after that, she didn't push it.
Okay, that's good.
Like, so after having that conversation, because I wanted to give her the opportunity for me to say my piece, for her to have her piece, because in all my research, they don't know. And it's not so much their fault as it's the system's fault. If she was an absolute jerk about things and genuinely dismissed me, and I felt that that was a her thing, not a just, I don't know, then yeah, I probably never would have gone back. But after having our conversation of like, here's everything that happened, and her being like, whoa, I'm like, yes, thank you. So maybe the next person who comes in here and says, you know, I have X, Y, and Z, she's going to go, let's do some testing. Maybe
Wow.
not, but I gave her a shot, and I still see her.
Listen, her reaction is amazing. It's like something I would not even think is a possibility.
Me either.
Which is
I went in there
amazing.
guns blazing. I was ready. I was ready for a fight. I was ready to stand up for myself. And whenever she
I'm
said,
so proud of you, by the
I'm
way.
sorry, I'm like, that wasn't what you were supposed to say.
The scenarios in my head were going
Right?
going crazy.
Right? Like that wasn't it.
That would be
Reasonably
like
so.
what I expected.
Yes, reasonably so. Because it's so hard too in the medical field to let go of your ego, to admit fault, especially like, I mean, I'm a paramedic, and it's hard to say I messed up or I could have done better. It's not easy. And that's why when she said it, I was like, no, that wasn't it.
Yeah. I
But
also feel like initially, like when we come to them, you know, they all take an oath to help people. It's never their intention, but I just wish more doctors would have realized that telling someone it's probably just stress or maybe you should see a therapist is not helpful. Like it's best to say, please leave the room. I have no answers for you and I have no idea where to send you. That's all I can help you with. Because like this part is just so unhelpful and gets us in this place of like self-gaslighting. Like you said, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, it's not so terrible, which I did the same, by the way. When I came into my surgeon's office, I was like, I'm so sorry that I'm taking your time. I probably should not be here. You're such a busy surgeon. Probably not. And she was like, shut up. You had surgery yesterday. And
like it's
I'm here
insane
to
how
help
much
you.
we get gaslit into thinking that like I'm fine, because we don't know any better. Like me, I got my period super early. I started when I was like 10. So from 10 years old, I'm told that, oh yeah, you have bad cramps, that's normal. Okay, it's normal. I'm 29 now.
And
Oh
you
yeah, it's
said that
normal.
you're like unable to stand, dizzy,
Hmm.
can't move. Like that's definitely not. And you knew it. This is actually beautiful. You came to say to your doctor, he says, this is not normal. And she says,
No,
no, that's normal.
no, it's normal. No, it's not
How
normal.
do
It's
you
not
know that it's not
normal
normal?
to have a period where you physically cannot stand because of the immense pain you're in. And what I always got told was, well, if you take ibuprofen a couple days before it starts, you should be good for when it starts. And I'm like, that's bad girl
Wow.
math. That's not math. I shouldn't have to take 400 milligrams of ibuprofen 3 days out. So then when I do get my period and I'm still taking this ibuprofen, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Do we care about my liver? Because I do. Never mind my other
Mind
organs that are
mine.
all messed up. Like, that's what was just so baffling. And like looking back is all of the things that were just, it's normal. It's normal. Or, oh, well, you can just take birth control.
Yeah.
I
The
don't want to
solution
take
for
birth control.
everything.
It's the band-aid. It's the, I don't really know how to fix you. Here you go. Birth control. I'm
Let's
like,
just see you a little less.
yeah. I'm like, no, birth controls mess you up so bad. But I'm like, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you share with someone who is now going through the process? Like, what would be your best tips for yourself 2 years ago?
My best tip would be aggressive, be pushy, stand your ground. Because at the end of the day, doctors know you for 20 minutes, maybe max. That's being generous. They know you for 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. You're with your body 24/7. I know my body a lot better than you know it in the last 15 minutes. I know how I am in the whole cycle of my period. You know me for 15 minutes. So be aggressive, stand your ground, because I can't imagine if I was just like, okay, this is my life now. Looking back and seeing how different my pain is and how different my day to day abilities are is astounding. That I can't believe I lived my life like that for so long.
Wow. Yes. Every time I
And that,
have a flare up, I'm like, how did I do this 24/7? Like, I
mm-hmm,
can barely do that for the 24 hours it lasts.
yeah, yep. I'm like, how did I do it? How did I live my life like this? And like, I don't have a very sedentary life. I'm very much on the go. I'm very much doing a very heavy job. And it's like, how did I manage that? And that's what I would tell people. Anyone who is going through it and anyone who's in the process of it is just hold your ground and find someone who will listen, because they're out there. They're there. It's just a matter of continuing to stand and continuing to push and continuing to just find that person.
And local support groups are a great place, like you did. That's a
Yeah.
great place to find good surgeons. We at the Yellow Lab actually have a map that's based on recommendations from many support groups that I'm in for surgeons that people had good experience with. I'm happy you found yours through a direct recommendation. I think it feels amazing. But also, if you guys don't find this, you can go on the yellowhub.org and find your surgeon, whoever is closest to you. If you find multiple ones, please get multiple opinions. That would be my best advice. Because I've seen two surgeons before my surgery, and after I saw one, I was like, I'm so nervous. And then I saw the second, and I was like, definitely the first. It was just so easy. So yeah.
No, I definitely recommend, as well as finding someone who does this for a living. Like, that is their sole purpose, is endometriosis.
Yeah.
Because like we had kind of already talked about, OBGYNs, they're delivering babies, they're doing pap smears, they're doing uterine cancer, they're doing all of these things and endometriosis. Whereas finding a doctor who specializes in endometriosis alone, that is all they see, that is all they care about. They're not doing any of the other stuff. So to have a surgeon who's going in and they see this every day, 9 million times a day, versus someone who this is only part of their job. I'm very, very thankful to my nurse practitioner who said, go to Boston, because I'm only about an hour and a half away. And I ended up not even in Boston. I went to the Women's Center in Waltham. So it wasn't even Boston that I ended up at. And I had my surgery at Mount Auburn in Cambridge. So didn't even have to deal with the whole Boston hospitals and all that jazz. But I'm so thankful that someone in healthcare was not going against their people, but I mean, they're in the same practice group. They're in the same thing to say, no, go to Boston. Go see someone who does this for a living. And I think everyone in the support groups and on Facebook, they tend to say, find a specialist. OBGYNs, if that is all you have, if you're in an area that doesn't have the ability to go to a specialist, because some people are out in the boonies of like Wyoming and they don't have the greatest healthcare systems. So if that's all you have, go for it. But if you have the option, go with a specialist.
Yeah, I would say even with state insurance, in some cases you can fight it with some specialists will help you fight it and say, hey, this doctor is actually not qualified. And then if they don't have any doctors or surgeons that are qualified within the state, then the state insurance is required to pay for out of state as in network. So even for people who live really far in the US, I would just personally recommend to travel. I know it gets a lot harder in the UK and in Canada. In like some rural parts of Canada, they are like bound to a specific county and like area, and like there's really nothing there. And then it has to be private, and then it comes to like a whole lot of more. But really my best advice, because I just see, as an admin, I see so many posts, dozens every day of patients going through surgeries with the wrong surgeons, coming out with like, they found nothing, which is terrible. Coming out with damages because things were moved and shoved and not actually handled, and coming out with worse pain that gets worse and worse until they actually have good surgery. So yeah, like I wouldn't risk it. I know how hard it is. It's so scary to travel and try to plan it. It's so stressful, but
it's so
worth it. Yes, it's not worth it to try and like risk your quality of life and body and potentially lifetime damages. It's just terrible.
A shadow that won't let go. It grips my body and steals my glow. Silence screams behind a smile. Walking this road feels like a trial. The world can't see the war inside. The scars I carry, the tears I've cried. Doctors shrug, they turn away, leaving me to fight another day. Hear us now, we won't stay quiet. Through the storm, we'll rise to fight it. Our bodies ache, our voices roar. We're stronger than we were before. Each day's a battle, a brand new fight. Chasing answers in the darkest night. The weight of doubt, it cuts so deep, but I hold on, I will not weep. We are not fragile, we are not small. We stand together, we stand tall. Listen to the stories we need to share. A little kindness could repair. Hear us now, we won't stay quiet. Through the storm, we'll rise to fight it. Our bodies ache, our voices roar. We're stronger than we were before. Hear us now, we won't stay quiet. Through the storm, we'll rise to fight it. Our bodies ache, our voices roar. We're stronger than we were before. Each day's a battle, a brand new fight. Chasing answers in the darkest night. The weight of doubt, it cuts so deep, but I hold on, I will not weep. Hear us now, we won't stay quiet. Through the storm, we'll rise to fight it. Our bodies ache, our voices roar. We're stronger than we were before. Pain is a shadow that won't let go. It grips my body and steals my glow. Silence screams behind a smile. Walking this road feels like a trial.